Today I'm going to show you how to butcher a whole beef tenderloin that I bought from Costco. Hi, I'm Anita from KetogenicWoman.com, where I share keto and carnivore recipes and other information. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button down below, and I hope you watch some of my other videos. Okay, so I was at Costco yesterday, and they finally had whole beef tenderloins. I've been waiting for them to have them. They normally have whole beef strip loins every time I go, but I have a freezer full of strip loin and I wanted tenderloin. So I bought one and it was also on sale. I ended up paying about $16 a pound, which is high. It used to be a lot cheaper. However, today, when I stopped by my local grocery store, which is a large chain and the prices are usually pretty good there, I stopped by to get something and I happened to see their little tenderloin steaks, $79.99 a kilogram for these two little steaks that didn't look that great. That translates to about $36 a pound. So I think my $16 a pound is a pretty good deal. I'm going to show you how to make your own little filet mignons, and as well as other things you can get from this that are very tasty. This was well worth it. So one thing to watch for labeling when you're at Costco, they often sell a whole beef tenderloin, but it's denuded, and it'll say denuded on it. What that means is, first of all, you're going to pay a whole lot more, and the reason you're going to pay a whole lot more is because the butcher at Costco has already removed the silver skin and all the extra bits of fat and stuff like that. So for doing that extra 10 minutes of work, you're going to pay a lot more than what I paid for this. You're probably going to pay in the $20, $22 a pound range. So it's well worth it to not get the denuded one and get this one, and I'm going to show you how to deal with it. So I'm just going to take this out and I'm going to bring it back here. Okay, so I released it from the bag. I don't wash it off, I just towel it dry. Try to get all the moisture off. I thought my cutting board was big enough for this, but not quite. Just want to get all that off. Try to get this dry. Okay, so what you need is to have a good sharp knife. And you can use this knife, like a sharp chef knife or whatever kind of big knife you have for all of this. For getting off the silver skin, I like to use this little narrow knife. It's called a boning knife. If you have a knife set, it probably came with one and maybe you're not sure what to do with it. Honestly, I'd never used it before until I started cutting my own meat from these big Costco pieces, and it works really well for this. I'm just going to go over what we're going to do with this. We're going to separate out, like this basically comes apart in 3 pieces, and we're going to separate it out in those 3 pieces. We're going to remove some of the kind of fattier pieces. We're not throwing them away. We're going to use them for something else. And we're going to remove, most importantly, the silver skin. It doesn't matter how you cook it, it's not edible. So that's the trickiest part, where you need this little knife. I find that it's easiest to try to locate these 3 areas. This is called the head. This piece down here is the tenderloin, and then there's this other piece on the side that is called the chain. And you can kind of even, there it goes, it's even just separating nicely by hand. So this is what we're looking for here. We're going to separate that away. And it is not going to be wasted or anything. I'm just going to, there's a couple of tough fibers here to release it. We are going to use this for something else that's equally delicious, but different. And you're basically trimming it right where there's this natural separation. It's hard to explain it, but I'm hoping that you're able to see how it's just this natural place where it separates. And you can use your knife for a little bit of help. Okay. I'm going to use my big knife here. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for now. Got my watermelon cutting board. Okay. So then, now, disclaimer,
I'm not a butcher.
Had no butcher training. The only time I've ever butchered anything was these few times that I have bought a large piece of meat from Costco. You sure save a lot of money doing this yourself. So, but please don't show this to any of your butcher friends. They'll tell you all the things I've done wrong, and it's okay. Okay, so now we've done that. Whether or not I did that part correctly or not, no idea. But that's okay. So the easiest way to deal with the silver skin is to take this little knife and kind of slip it under there. Don't cut yourself, but you see it kind of goes under there, and then from there you can, sometimes it just peels right off, and sometimes you just have to get a little bit more to get it going. But it's very tough. It doesn't tenderize when it cooks. This is really the only part that's going to get thrown away. Okay, I'm going to try to get right under here and try to get this off in a bigger piece. There we go. Now, beef tenderloin, once we get into the middle of this tenderloin part, is a little lower in fat than some of your other steaks. Like, for instance, a ribeye steak has a lot of fat. So if you're following protein sparing modified fast, you can have tenderloin. It is one of the lower fat cuts. So these pieces that I'm cutting off are not going to go to waste. I have a good use for those that I will tell you about. This particular one has a surprisingly large amount of fat on it, which I don't usually see, but that's probably because I didn't quite get it cut just where I wanted it to, so I'm just taking it off now.
Okay, are we there yet? Almost.
So what I do with these chunks is I cut them into bite-sized pieces, and those go into the air fryer with salt and pepper, like little steak tips. They're really tender, really good, and I think you will like that. I'm sure you could roast them as well. Just want to cut this piece out. There we go. Okay, I think this is ready. Oh, one more little bit here. Okay. So I'm going to just start cutting this into some small pieces. And they're like medallions. You can even shape them a bit, you know, like that. These are the little things you see with a piece of bacon wrapped around them. This end piece I'm going to put with my other ones that will go in the air fryer. You can make them as thin or as thick as you want. I'm making some smallish ones here, but I might make a few thicker ones. So these pieces I'm cutting now, these are the ones that you pay, well, here in Canada, $36 a pound for, which is pretty incredible. And even though there's very little fat in these, there's a little bit of marbling, but they're incredibly tender. No matter anything other than the silver skin, no matter which one you get there, which piece, it's all tender. Now, I could have left this as a roast, like part of it, but I prefer just the small pieces. The pieces on this, I don't know if this is called the tail end or what it's called, but they are, I mean, I can even feel with my hands how much more tender they are than on the other end. But all of, like I said, all of this will be tender. So there's all my tenderloin steaks, or medallions, some people call them. So I'm just gonna put that aside for a moment. So these pieces here, the ones that look like this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them like that, just bite-sized pieces, and they will be either roasted or thrown in the air fryer. Even with these big pieces of fat, they're really good. You could put them in a stew, I guess, as well, or kebabs, but that's my favorite way to do it. So I'm going to go through all this, throw away the silver skin, and everything else will end up in a Ziploc bag, and I just label the bag fatty tenderloin pieces. I mean, I don't know what else to call them. So these, what I will do, I'm just going to wash my hands real quick. So what I will do with these tenderloins is I will weigh them and freeze them. I have freezer paper that I like to use. I don't like to put the steaks in Ziploc bags because I just feel like they get more frostiness on them. When you wrap them in paper, it's just like when you get from the butcher. It'll last longer in your freezer. And there's a little chart on the back of the freezer paper that tells you how long. Yeah, beef, 6 to 12 months. That's pretty good. I want to get these two really tender ones together. Maybe that one. Okay, so I have just about a pound of tenderloin here, and I'm going to wrap those together. And so I'll just show you, just in case you've never done this before. Now here again, I'm not an expert, but I just know that when I open up these ones that I've wrapped myself in paper, they are good. There's no ice particles. So I just squish them all together as much as I can. Wrap them like a present almost. Nice and tight so that there's no air.
The butcher does a much nicer job than I do. They know exactly how to do this, but
it still works.
just wrap it super tight. The tape is pretty cheap. And I have not done a great job of this. But I can sure cook a steak. I think part of my problem is I'm getting the tape. The tape is not dry from my fingers.
All right, and then with a Sharpie, I put the date. Today is July 31st, which reminds me, we just finished the July challenge in our group, and I've been promising to report my results for July. So I'm going to do that as well just after I finish this. Actually, I'll do it right now. I've lost 9 pounds in July, which I'm really happy about. Maybe I'll throw my before picture up on here. We'll see if I can find it. If not, this part will be edited out. Okay, so July 31st. 1 pound beef tenderloin. Yum, I can hardly wait to eat that one. Okay, so, and I'll do the rest of these. I will throw the cubed up fatty pieces of tenderloin into a big Ziploc bag. And those will all get cooked at once, and then they can be eaten over a few days. So that's basically a really good way to save a lot of money on buying the best cuts of beef. I think Costco has great beef. And I buy the strip loin roast as well and cut those up. And I have a video for that, which shows you how to do it. It's almost, I mean, it's pretty much the same, but it just looks a bit different. And so I'll put that video down below. Yeah, it's a good budget-friendly way to get high-quality meat. And I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you on the next one.
And it'll make a bloody mess. So I lost my train of thought there. What else can I say about